to get the most damage possible out of this strategy, you'll need a copy of Trident Dragion. So make sure to check your collection to see if you have one, and ask a friend if you don't.
Friend? Uh-oh.
Hello there, brother of mine. Yeah, it has been a while. Listen, do you remember when we used to play cards in exactly 2011? Johnny, what's it been? 13 years exactly? How are you doing? Oh, that bad, huh? Yeah, losing a pet is never easy. Oh, she was your wife. Right, let me cut to the chase, Johnny. Do you remember Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, Mrs. Smith, I'd appreciate if you could get Eric on the phone for me. Really? Well, if you find Mr. Smith and wherever he's taken Eric off to, let him know I'm looking for a Trident Dragion. Yes, ma'am, I know this is a long shot. 15 years ago, I babysat your child and they were playing with a Yu-Gi starter. Would you know that... Hello?
I'm just gonna pay the $100.
First, this video is sponsored by Marvel Strike Force. Ever been watching a meme review episode and thought, what if the Marvel characters in these horrendous posts could be used to take down villains instead of irritate peeps? Well, in Marvel Strike Force, you can assemble that team. Marvel Strike Force is a mobile squad RPG that allows you to battle with your favorite team of superheroes and supervillains in a fight to save the universe against threats like Doctor Doom and Apocalypse. Mix and match a whole squad of the most powerful and iconic heroes and villains from across the multiverse to create your own dream team-up of your favorites. If you're a new player, you can unlock up to 17 characters in the first 30 days, including Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, Captain America, and more of your favorites. Once you've got your squad, outfit and upgrade them with different methods of character progression and experimentation so your heroes and villains can dominate every battle. Take your forces through various challenges like campaigns, blitz, arena, and alliance war, or if you're feeling competitive, you can take a shot at the Cosmic Crucible, where you go head-to-head against other players in tournament. And if you're looking for flashy visuals, Marvel Strike Force is full of groundbreaking RPG gameplay cinematics. Watch as your squads unleash dynamic chain combos with a single tap. Use my promo code, click the link in the description, or use the QR code on screen now to unlock some sick rewards simply by logging in. Now, back to the video. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. Lead is about to release, and with it, a ton of new and interesting strategies that can't beat Snake Eye. Yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news on this one, but while there's a ton of cool, interesting stuff in this pack, it's mostly competing for second place. That said, I've got great news for duelists who can't shell out for Diabell. The second best deck is looking pretty cheap. Presenting TENpai. So here's the list, and not often one of these is under half engine. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. So with that, let's take a look at TENpai. TENpai is a series of dragon monsters modeled after Mahjong, another entry alongside Flower Cardian into the list of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes designed from the ground up to make you play something other than Yu-Gi-Oh! In Yu-Gi-Oh! This archetype's all about the battle phase, but before you turn off the video, I have more news. It's also good. Each of the main deck monsters have an ability that allows them to quick synchro during the battle phase, and Chandra and Fadra have the ability to, if a monster battles, during the start of the damage step, summon an additional fire dragon monster from a different location apiece, ensuring you have near-endless material with which to synchro. The end result is a deck that hits hard through just about anything. But if Blind Second OTK was good, then Gren Maju would be the best deck in town, and head-to-head battles would have more tops than Jesse Cotton. What differentiates this deck is its field spell, Brimming Sangen Manor, or whatever we've localized it to. This makes your fire dragons unaffected by effects during the main phase, meaning the battle phase is the only time they can be negated. Additionally, if this card is destroyed during battle, it doubles a dragon's attack, which you can all but guarantee courtesy of Trident Dragion. Just remember to check your collection, or to ask a friend. A usual turn will begin by setting this, getting as many dragons as possible on field, then triggering their effects in battle to summon their on-theme bosses before losing to Battle Fader. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Most of these cards should be pretty familiar to you already. This deck is unique in that it can play like 30 pieces of non-engine. We're going to go over the TENpai Dragon cards, but keep in mind if a couple of these options, things like Triple Tactics Thrust, seem like they're going to gate you out of playing the strategy, they are very interchangeable and can be modified based on your budget and your locals environment. We'll begin with TENpai Dragon Chundra. Once per turn during the battle phase, you can quick effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control a fire dragon monster, you can special this card from your hand. And at the start of a damage step if a monster battles, you can specially level 4 or lower fire dragon from your deck, except itself. 3 copies of TENpai Dragon Pydra. If normally special summoned, takes a Sangen spell trap from your deck, adds it to your hand, or sets it. That's a hard once per turn. You take no battle damage from battles involving your fire dragon monsters. And once per turn during the battle phase, you can quick synchro using this card. Finally, TENpai Dragon Fadra, which unfortunately was localized from TENpai Dragon Fedora. I tip my hat to you, good sir. We'll see you in the localization. If this card is normally special summoned or at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can target a level 4 or lower dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it. That's a once per turn, and your fire dragon monsters can't be destroyed by battle. Once per turn during the battle phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. For monster non-engine, we're playing Fenrir, Ash Blossom, Effect Veiler, and Nibiru. Remember, this is very rudimentary and can be modified based on how the metagame shakes out. For spells, we've got 3 copies of Sangen Summoning, the change from Brimming Sangen Manor. Fire dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects during your main phase 1 only, and during your main phase you can add a TENpai Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, then discard a card. You can only use this effect of Sangen Manor once per turn, and if it's destroyed during the battle phase, you can target a dragon synchro monster you control. Its attack becomes doubled. That's almost always going to be Trident Dragion. We've got 3 copies of Sangen Kaimen. If this card was activated outside of the battle phase, you get one of these effects. If during the battle phase, you get any number of them. You can add a level 4 or lower fire dragon from your deck to your hand, and you can special a fire dragon from your hand. Finally, we've got 3 Pot of Prosperity, which may seem a little strange in an OTK strategy, but this deck puts out so much damage you can kill through it, and I am not joking. We're playing 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, 2 copies of Thrust, and a Talents, a Terraforming because it is so important we find the field spell, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. In the extra, we've got a copy of Dispotter, a Sagenpai Super Dragon Transcendent. If this card is synchro summoned, you can change all monsters on the field to attack position. All opponent's monsters must attack if able. Also, your opponent can't activate cards or effects during the battle phase. If 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, then destroy a card on the field, and you can only use this effect once per duel. Notably, this is going to replace Trident Dragion if you don't have access to that card. What do you, not have friends or bulk? It has the ability to pop the field spell, which of course increases its attack, and importantly, it also does a ton for the archetype. Not only does it force your opponent's monsters into attack position, preventing them from walling you, but it also helps you engineer scenarios where you end on something like a Hieratic Seals, get into this card during your opponent's battle phase, and force them to attack into it, OTKing them on their own turn. If you want a more in-depth explanation for how that line would look, the Curry Bandits video linked in the description should have a pretty good primer. We've got Trident Dragion, of course. Unfortunately, it is just really good for the archetype. You can get away with not playing it, at least until the reprint comes out. I understand not wanting to pay $100 for a card that is all but forecasted to come out in about a month. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target up to 2 other cards you control, destroy them, and for each destroyed card, this card gains 1 additional attack during the battle phase this turn. We've got Sagenpai Rise Dragon Biden Dragon. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target a fire dragon in your graveyard, special it. You can't special for the rest of the turn except dragons, and if 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, quick effect, special this from the graveyard, destroy a spell trap on the field. We've got Samurai Destroyer, which is like kind of a buffed sort of Armades. You may have missed this card. It came out pretty recently in the grand scheme of synchros, but it had a home in Duel Links and comes to roost here as well. Black Rose Moonlight and Black Rose Dragon may seem a little underpowered relative to the stuff that we're playing, but remember that your opponent can't interact with your fire dragons during their main phase 1 with any activated effects. So in a scenario where your opponent has put up enough negates to contest your battle phase play, you can just commit to an early Black Rose Dragon, wipe the board, and then do your play, none of which can be responded to provided you have the field spell up. We've got Raging Phoenix, we've got Zealantis, we've got Promethean Princess, we've got Hito, we've got SP Little Knight, we've got the FTK, and we've got Striker Dragon. In the side, we're playing 3 copies of Phantasme, 2 copies of Druis Worm, 1 Magnamut, Triple Droll and Lockbird, Harpy's Feather Duster, Cosmic Cyclone, and Lightning Storm. I want to give special mention to Phantasme. I think this is probably a really good fit for the archetype. It just has a lot of attack, and importantly, can prevent like really specific targeted points of interaction your opponent is holding for the battle phase. Notably, this is also kind of an all-in strategy. It feels like it either wins or it doesn't based on very little input from you specifically, so sculpting a hand using its effect is really, really powerful. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Centaur Ion. They got new support. Quit laughing. Our opponent's going first. They're going to begin with a copy of Primera. Primera is going to go ahead and grab the field spell. They will stand up their Centurion and go ahead and grab themselves a copy of Trudea into the back row. Trudea triggers here and allows them to tag out for a Gargoyle 2. Out comes Gargoyle 2, and let's make the new Synchro. Ooh, ah. That'll trigger both its effect and the effect of Gargoyle 2, putting it back in the hand and grabbing a trap. They're going to set the trap, and then they'll go ahead and trigger it at end phase, putting the Primera back as well. We'll begin with a copy of Fadra. We're going to follow it up with a Chundra. They'll trigger the effect of their Primera, summoning it, and then at point of resolution, they'll go for Trudea and Primera, summoning the Trudea and triggering the Primera in order to grab the spell. They'll stand up and Emeth 6, which enables them to summon it from the graveyard and synchro into a Legatia. We will droplet here. They will chain Phalanx, which allows them to, at minimum, resolve the effect of the Legatia, but we do get to negate the effect of the Oxilla, and this should be enough. We'll go ahead and check their hand, take the last remaining card, and go for Chundra in battle. Chundra for Fadra. Fadra effect. We'll bring back the Fadra from graveyard. Let's go ahead and get in for 16 and 16, and what do you know, it's time for quick synchro. Let's make a Bident Blast. We'll go for the Dragion, summoning back the Chundra, get in for 26 for 15, and then Fadra to quick sync for a Transcendent Dragion. GG. Our second match is up against Voiceless Voice, and this is just such a hard deck to interact with, especially with just an Infinite Impermanence in our grip. So many of their cards resist being targeted, and so many of their combos are two-carders, so let's see what we can get done here. They're going to begin with a copy of Branded Fusion, sending a couple of cards. One of them is a Skull Guardian, so we immediately know what's up. They will go for an Albion into a Lubellion, pitching this copy of Nibiru and shuffling back to end on a Mirror Jade. Keeping that Lubellion on their side of the field enables them to use the Saphira in the graveyard to perform the ritual summon of the Skull Guardian, and we'll just try and stop them here, hoping they don't have anything else. Thankfully, they don't, which means that they're just going to pass on an Ash, a Droll, and a Mirror Jade. Still pretty good, but not good enough. We'll begin with our field spell, and this is the strength of the Sangen Summoning. We'll go Fadra into Chundra. We'll go for the Bident Blast, trigger the effect, bring back this copy of Fadra, and then Fadra in order to summon this Chundra. Afterwards, we're going to go into TENpai Transcendent Dragion, which locks the battle phase, before going for our quick play into a Pydra. Pydra is going to trigger here, adding to our hand another Sangen Kaiman. Then we'll trigger the effect of the Chundra on attack to get a copy of Fadra, and of course, all of our monsters are protected by that effect. We'll trigger the effect of the Bident Dragon in graveyard to reborn it, then Pydra in order to perform a summon. Down comes Trident Dragion. Let's destroy our entire field, triggering the summoning and the Transcendent Dragion, summoning it back and destroying our opponent's monster. We get in for 6 and 6, and that is way more than enough. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing what else? Snake Eyes, and our hand looks really good. We've got a Nibiru, we've got an Infinite Impermanence, we have access to Sangen Summoning, and of course we've got Pot of Prosperity. That looks kind of frustrating in an OTK strategy, but I promise you, we can clear it. They're going to begin with a copy of Fenrir, and ooh, never want to open 2 of those bad boys. Next they'll follow it up with an Ash, and traditionally this is where you fire an Infinite Impermanence, but I think I'm going to hold it. That's just because there's so little that's part of the Snake Eye end board that I actually feel threatened by. So as a result, I want to keep it for something a little more impactful. Maybe they go for an early Apollosa. Unfortunately, they're going to activate the effect of the Flamberge really early, which gives us a sick Nibiru. We're going to fire off the Rock, keep a token in attack position for them. They get to Poplar in order to put the Flamberge in the back row, then OSS the field spell for a Snake Eye Ash, but Hita Pass isn't probably where they wanted to end up. Well, let's show them what we can do. We're going to begin with a copy of Pydra, setting a Sangen Summoning. From here, we can flip that sucker up and go for a Pot of Prosperity. We pretty much have everything we want, so let's just go for 3 here. We'll find... okay, I guess we'll just take a Pydra. We'll go for a Chundra here, we'll summon it, and then we'll go to the battle phase. Chundra effect, let's go ahead and get a Fadra from deck. Remember, all of our monsters are protected, and we're not taking any damage, just getting these attacks in so our Synchro monsters have bonus effects. We'll go for Bident Blast, then activate its effect to bring back the Fadra. We'll trigger the Fadra in order to bring back the Chundra, and then afterwards we'll get over the Hita. They are going to be able to trigger the Hita and take 375 of the process Kurikara, so we're not going to let them get to main phase 2. Let's attack with everything, including the Nibiru, then go for the Fadra effect in order to Synchro summon a Trident Dragion. We'll pop the Nibiru and our Sangen Summoning, and we'll trigger the graveyard effect of the Bident Blast again. That's going to allow us to get in for a ton of damage as we double the attack of our Trident Dragion. 3,000 and 3,000 is more than enough. So it's time for game 2, and well, get excited to see this decision calculus coming soon. We're going first, and our hand is not super well equipped for it. I guess we'll go Pot of Prosperity here, finding off the top. I don't know. I guess we could take the Pydra. We'll normal the Pydra. We'll activate the effect in order to go ahead and set a copy of Sangen Summoning. We'll Sangen Summoning here in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Chundra. We can summon the Chundra. We've got Fadra access too, but we're just going Seal's Pass and hoping for the best. Our opponent's going to draw for turn, and ooh, that might be all she wrote. Wanted as soon as possible, followed up with a Bon Bonfire. They're going to go ahead and grab an Ash and then fire off the Snatch Steal, forcing a really early Hieratic Seal. We'll just go ahead and bounce the Song and Summoning and then use the Hieratic Seal for a Fadra. Fadra's going to trigger here to get us a copy of Chundra, and they're just going to be able to pick apart our board. Let's go Diabellstar into a copy of OSS, normal summon Snake Eye Ash, activate its effect to grab a copy of Kurikara. They'll tribute our Fadra. Was that really necessary before we Ash their OSS? Unfortunately, with the Jet Sync Rod in rotation, we are just giga dead. They'll go Hita here in order to bring back the Ash Blossom. Down comes a Promethean Princess. Princess in order to bring back Oak. Oak in order to bring back Ash. And then, of course, they can just go ahead and activate the effect of the Ash, sending the Oak in order to grab a Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. I believe this is already lethal. They'll push Chundra back, and we will concede. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and oh, Nemesis Corridor. You thought you were doing something cute, did you? All right, let's see what you can put up. They're going to begin with a copy of a Wanted in draw phase. Afterwards, going to go ahead and summon a Diabellstar. Diabellstar effect to set an OSS, followed up with the OSS in order to summon an Ash from deck. Ash here is not going to get Infinite Impermanence. Again, Infinite Impermanencing it here just puts us in a position where Bonfire is really powerful. They're going to go for a copy of Poplar, for a copy of Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, set a copy of Oak. They'll go Ash into a copy of Flamberge Dragon, and then go into IP Masquerena once again. Flamberge is going to summon 2 material, and of course the Oak is going to convert into a 3rd off the Poplar. From here, they can make a copy of Apollosa, which really translates poorly into our Infinite Impermanence. Finally, they'll go for a Bonfire to get, ooh, a Nemesis Flag. Cool. They'll get Protoss, but I don't think they have the material necessary to make it, so they'll just Flamberge Dragon, set the Masquerena, Sinful Spoils to draw a card, and call it. They'll pass back to us, and okay, well, we opened crazy, so let's make it happen. We'll begin with Infib targeting this copy of Apollosa, and then fire off the Song and Summoning here in order to grab the one we lack, Pydra. We'll go ahead and normal summon the Pydra. They will activate Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, which does get them IP Masquerena access, but I'm not too concerned about it. We'll get Kaimen and then go for Chundra, and then afterwards, of course, they will go for IP Masquerena to make a copy of SP Little Knight, banishing the field spell. Okay, we'll just go to battle phase. We'll go for the Pydra, and then we'll go for the Chundra, triggering the effect of the Chundra in order to summon a Fadra from deck. We'll go Fadra, bring back the Chundra that we pitched to the graveyard. Then, of course, everything is protected. We will go for the effect of the Chundra. They'll go for the effect of the Flamberge Dragon to put a monster in defense position. We'll go for the Transcendent Dragion here and switch their monster to attack position. You're going to have to stare me down. They do get to trigger the effect of the Flamberge and the effect of the Oak and the effect of the Ash. They have a ton of monsters in defense position here, so you would think that they would not be dead. But they are. We'll trigger the effect of the Transcendent Dragion to summon it back, and we'll go ahead and pop this copy of Flamberge. Then we'll Kaimen as we walk over another monster to go into Pydra. We can get in with the Pydra, trigger the effect of the Chundra, and go into a Bident Blast. Bident here is going to reborn this copy of Pydra. We'll go into their monster, direct for 17, and now it's time to finish the game. We'll go into Trident Dragion, use its effect to pop the Transcendent Dragon, trigger the effect of the Bident in graveyard to summon it back, and get in for 3 and 3 and 26. Why is that? Why are you allowed to do that? So we're back with the deck, and yeah, that performance will probably be replicated at locals pretty much every week for the next couple of months. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it does so much damage. This deck is not only infamous for killing through Prosperity, but it can easily throw out 30,000 damage over various bodies. And it doesn't need a lot to do it. It can kill off of very few cards. The deck gets its power from a 1.5 card combo, that's the field spell plus a discard, but even Chundra alone can 1-card OTK through an empty board. 2, the field spell reads like a custom. By rendering your Fire Dragon monsters unaffected in your main phase, you can do some interesting stuff. You want to make it so your opponent can't activate cards in the battle phase either? Just make Transcendent Dragion under your field spell and head to battle. Want to wipe your opponent's board? Make a Black Rose. Wipe the field without them being able to even have a chance to negate it. The choice is yours. Also, it's a Rhoda. 3, it's accessible. Being both low rarity and simple to play makes the deck a great piece for people learning or not wanting to commit too much money into the format. Sure, you might have to shell out for Trident Dragion now, but if you hold your horses, it'll likely get reprinted soon enough, so it's worth picking up everything else. And the cons. 1, without the field spell, it can be hard to make establishing plays. If you're just normal summoning Pydra and hoping that it works, it sometimes just gets negated and you lose. Maybe a Chundra in hand or a Kaimen can save you, but you're already on shaky ground. Negates, Cosmic Cyclone, etc. all make it really hard to establish the field in games 2 and 3. 2, without the Transcendent Dragion on field, the moment you enter battle phase, your cards are so much more vulnerable. Sure, they may have their quick synchro effects to dodge targeted removal or negation, but something like a Super Poly or non-targeting removal can just freeze you. Ash Blossom on Kaimen in the battle phase is also a huge choke point and often game ending. And 3, this is the big one, sometimes you have to go first. You're a blind second deck, and that leaves you with very little to do on your opening turn. Very often, you're just going to end up setting up a Fenrir and a Spheres and hoping you stay alive until turn 3. Be prepared for pretty much every opponent to make you go on the play after you beat them. Overall, if you're looking for a cheap, explosive deck that can stand up to current meta contenders, then TENpai is for you. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These videos are sponsored by, and in many cases suggested by, my Patreons. Thanks to these people, without whom I would not be able to keep the lights on. I'll just go ahead and shout out some of the individuals who have pledged at a high level here: Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Brett Henry, Canner, Seaweed, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elefante, Enraged Peacock, Gravity, John Piet, Juan Cruz Avila Zati, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Rose Lapine, Solar Flare the Ricka Queen, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Your Pot of Greed Does What, and Yuki. I really could not have done this without you.